Hey, family, welcome to the Real Talk Podcast with Andrea. I'm glad to have you in this space, and you already know we don't do perfect over here, so let's talk. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been listening, sharing these conversations, opening up, and allowing this space to become something bigger than just a podcast. For the month of May, we've been dedicating these episodes to Mental Health Awareness Month, but not just in a surface level way. We've been talking about real life, real struggles, real emotions, and real situations people quietly deal with every day while still trying to function. And one thing I realized through these conversations, a lot of adults, they're carrying pain from childhood that nobody ever noticed. A lot of people learn how to survive emotionally before they ever learn how to process emotions in a healthy way. And honestly, a lot of children are mentally struggling right now while the adults around them are calling it bad behavior or attitude or saying that they're acting out. So today, I want us to really talk about that because every struggling child is not rebellious. Every quiet child is not okay. And every child that smiles is not emotionally safe. You know something that breaks my heart? Looking back as adults and realizing how many signs we missed in children who were mentally struggling. And sometimes those children, they were us. Because when people think about mental health struggles, they usually picture adults. But children struggle mentally too. Teenagers struggle, young boys struggle, and young girls struggle too. And a lot of them, they don't even have the language to explain what they're feeling emotionally. So instead, it comes out through their behavior, sometimes through anger, silence, anxiety, or through shutting down emotionally. And I think one of the hardest things for children emotionally is feeling misunderstood in an environment where they already don't feel safe enough to express themselves. You ever notice how some children become the bad child in everybody's eyes, but nobody stops long enough to ask what's happening emotionally underneath the behavior? Sometimes the child acting out is overwhelmed emotionally. Sometimes the child constantly angry is carrying trauma. Sometimes the child always isolating themselves is struggling mentally. And sometimes that child that jokes all the time is hiding pain too. And I think adults forget sometimes children feel pressure too. Pressure from school, social media, unstable homes, bullying, trauma, and from trying to fit in. And when children don't feel emotionally safe enough to express those things, they internalize them. Let me ask you something. When you were younger, did you feel emotionally safe talking about what hurt you? Or did you learn how to stay quiet about it? Because a lot of adults right now are still carrying the emotional habits they learned in childhood. And let's really talk about this. Sometimes children are labeled difficult when they're actually emotionally overwhelmed, and that changes how they see themselves later. Imagine constantly being called bad, dramatic, too emotional, or you a disrespectful kid when what you really needed was support emotionally. And that affects people mentally long term when we don't even realize it. And if you're a parent listening right now, I'm not saying parent is easy. I know I have 7 children. And I'm not saying every behavior should just be excused either. But I do think more parents need to start asking, what is my child trying to communicate emotionally right now? Instead of only reacting to the behavior itself. Because emotionally supported children, they grow differently. And honestly, kids today are dealing with things a lot of us didn't have growing up. They got social media pressure, comparison to the culture. They got cyberbullying, anxiety, depression, and then exposure to adult situations way too early in life. And some children, they are mentally overwhelmed before adulthood even starts. So if you have children, check on them emotionally too, not just academically, not just behavior wise, emotionally. Ask them real questions, listen without immediately lecturing, and create safe conversations. Because sometimes children don't need a perfect parent, they just need an emotionally available one. I think some of the healing adults need today started with wounds nobody addressed when they were children. So if you're listening to this episode as a parent, a family member, a teacher, or even somebody healing from childhood yourself, I just want you to remember this. Children carry emotional pain too, and the way we respond to them emotionally can shape how they see themselves for the rest of their lives. So sometimes the child everybody called difficult was really just a child silently struggling to feel emotionally safe. Let's heal and grow together, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.